Welcome to the Talk Like a Leader podcast, where we explore the mindset, skill set, and habit set of leadership communication. Using these tips, techniques, and tactics, you'll be able to talk like a leader to build better relationships and get more done. Your host is Guy Harris, who has more than 20 years of combined professional and military experience in consulting, coaching, and training in areas like team and interaction dynamics, communication strategies and tactics, as well as emotional intelligence. Take it away, Guy.
Hi, this is Guy Harris. Welcome to the Talk Like a Leader podcast. This week's episode is titled, How to Ask Questions Without Backing People into a Corner. And one of the things that I recommend, and my partner and colleague Kevin Eikenberry recommends, is that as a leader, to develop better communication skills, that you develop the ability to ask questions so that you can elicit response from people and understand their perspectives better, understand what has happened, understand where you're going, understand what people expect to happen or hope to happen in the future, all these kinds of things, driven by the ability to ask good questions and correspondingly to listen to the answers. One of the challenges with asking questions is that done poorly, the attempt to ask a question to learn can look like asking a question to attack. And questions that come across in an attacking or critical fashion tend to back people into a corner and tend to basically negate all of the positive aspects of asking questions. So today I'll share a few thoughts with how to ask questions in a way that hopefully doesn't back the other person into a corner, that hopefully invites them to join you in conversation and share perspective and solve problems together and those types of things. Now, one of the things I'll say is kind of a general caveat that everything I'm about to say, every suggestion I'm going to make in terms of general guidelines for asking questions in a better way, you could probably find a situation where my suggestion would blow up in your face. So I'm not going to say that the things I'm going to offer in the next few minutes are perfectly applicable to every situation. In fact, I'm pretty sure that in certain situations, everything I say could be a disaster. So I'm not offering a universal solution to asking questions well. I'm offering some general recommendations, just some things that I've noticed in my years of working with people and trying to pay attention to how people respond, trying to read related books and articles on this topic and understand human dynamics and human interpretation and how people see and perceive things better, to find better and more effective ways to ask questions that invite people to have conversation with you. One of the biggest things I'll suggest is to be really careful of your tone and body language. Any word choice or perspective you apply to a question with the wrong body language could blow up in your face. Now, there's the study of Albert Moravian, who talked about the impact of body language and tone and word choice. And one of the big outcomes from that is when word choice and body language and or tone mismatch, then people tend to believe the body language and tone in preference to the word choice. So you got to make sure that your tone and body language align with your intent to invite people into conversation. A couple of body language things to be careful of are finger pointing, hands down gestures that look like you're trying to put your hands on basically on top of a person, or alternately a pushing motion where your open palm is towards the person, standing with your hands on hips. With voice tone, it could be your volume, it could be your pace, it could be sounds that seem to imply some kind of judgment of the other person. So for example, so what was the next action you took? Might be a good way to say things. And you could mess that up with, so what was your next action? So you can mess it up with the emphasis you put on words and that type of thing. So be careful of your tone and body language. Now, getting to the specifics of the question asking in terms of focus of the conversation and word choice, those kind of things. As a general rule, I would say you want to focus on the future more than you focus on the past in terms of asking people the type of things like, where are they hoping to get, what are they hoping to achieve, what expectations do they have for outcomes, those kind of things. And in that regard, I would suggest thinking more along the lines of actions and outcomes and timelines and thoughts and feelings and expectations more than reasoning or logic. A simple way to say that is I would focus more on what and how questions than on why questions. For example, rather than why did you do that, I might say something along the lines of, so what was happening at the time you made that decision? Or what were you hoping would be the outcome? Or what was your expectation in that moment? Or so what were you feeling at that moment? Or what were you thinking in that moment? Or how did that information come to you? How did you learn about that? Those kind of things, as opposed to why did you do that? Or why did you say that? Or why did that happen? Those are general guidelines, not universal, as I said before. And then as we're talking with people, you want to make sure you give them a chance to answer. You want to be really, really careful of what I would call a rapid fire interrogation, so that you beware of just asking one question after another. So ask a question and give the person a chance to answer. You might think about actually giving some information also. The danger of stating too much is that it can be all one-sided in your direction, meaning that if all you do is tell people your perspective, you don't hear theirs. There's also a danger going too far the other direction, asking too many questions without sharing a little bit. Sharing information shows some vulnerability. It shows a desire to connect with a person. So even when you're asking questions, you want to make sure you're sharing in some information also. Like so many things in communication, it's a balance. And you want to be sensitive to how much of the talking you're doing versus how much of the talking the other person's doing. My preference is to try to give the balance towards them, if at all possible. I can't honestly say I pull it off perfectly in all situations. That is my desire, and I have found that tends to invite people in more if you give them space to talk and listen to their answers. And it's also helpful if you will share some reciprocal information. A warning here is I'm not talking about story topping in terms of saying they share a story and you share another story that matches or betters theirs. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying share enough information to show that you're invested in the conversation also. Like so many things in communication, it's a balance. It's a dance between going too far either direction. And what I hope to propose to you today is that if you'll pay attention to your tone and your body language, the direction and intentionality of your questions, if you'll be aware of asking people why they did things or why they came to that conclusion or why they think what they think, and ask them more what leads to that conclusion, what do they hope to achieve, what are their expectations, what happened next, as opposed to why did you do that, or what happened next is generally better than what did you do. The idea here is to be sensitive to the situation, stay away from some danger zones like going too far in the direction of you talking or asking too many questions too quickly or getting your tone out of control, and keep your focus on trying to understand the other person's perspective rather than trying to judge it. If you'll do that, you can talk like a leader. This has been the Talk Like a Leader podcast. You can listen to this show every week wherever you get your podcast. If you haven't, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. I'm Guy Harris, and thanks for listening.